Emerging actors tend to memorize lines the wrong way. In this video, we look at a better method. Hi, my name is Jeff Kaplan. I'm an acting teacher here in the New York City area. I have a PhD in theater, as well as a Master's of Fine Arts in Dance. I taught in colleges and universities for many years, and now I am online. New actors tend to make two fundamental errors when trying to learn their lines. Firstly, they use rote memorization. They'll go over their lines dozens of times, or they will write them out by hand over and over again. Now, kinesthetic encoding can have uses. For example, the next time that you need to take notes in a class or a meeting, try going old school and write by hand on paper. You'll probably find that you're able to organize and therefore retain information better, but that's not the same thing as copying. The reason why rote memorization is bad is because even if somehow you manage to bludgeon the words into your head, you will say them as though you have memorized them without human intonation, without natural pauses. You will sound like a robot, and then the words will disappear. It's the same thing that happens when you cram for a test. You take the exam, and then the next day the information is completely gone. The other mistake that actors tend to make is not taking into account what's called the state-dependent nature of memorization. This is a finding from psychology, which essentially says that when we learn something, we can only recall that knowledge in the same way that we encoded it in the first place. As performers, we know this as the maxim, however you rehearse something is how you're going to perform it. I started out in modern dance before I moved into theater, and I cannot tell you how many student dancers I have seen on stage adjusting their costume every time they make an exit in full view of the entire audience, because that's how they practiced. So we need to recreate performing conditions when we rehearse. This is what the military does when they get ready for their theater of warfare. This is what NASA does. For us as actors, what this means is that if we try to learn our lines sitting or lying down with a very close visual focal length and speaking softly, when the time comes for us to stand up, look out, and speak with a full vocal register, the words will simply not be there. And that's where we get the deer in the headlights. Here's a better approach. I call this the paraphrase method because you're putting the lines in your own words as a memory aid. Kind of like what I just did with the definition of paraphrase, I put it in my own. Here's how it works. There's 3 steps. Let's take an example from Shakespeare, which is essentially a foreign language at this point for modern English speakers. And this is use case number 1 of paraphrase, helping you to understand what you're saying. This is a line from King Lear. "The tempest in my mind doth from my senses take all feeling else." Step 1, I say what I think the line means. There is a storm in my head, and I cannot think of anything else. In step 2, you say the paraphrase, and then immediately after, you say the actual line. There is a storm in my head, and I can't think of anything else. The tempest in my mind doth from my senses take all feeling else. And then in step 3, you say the actual line while thinking the paraphrase. The tempest in my mind doth from my senses take all feeling else. Okay, it's a little bit of a but one of our superpowers as actors is the ability to execute multiple processes in parallel. It's actually kind of fun. Use case number 2 is when you understand the line, but maybe the text is not how you would say it. Perhaps the syntax, the word order, is not what you would do. Maybe the language comes across to your ears as being old-fashioned. Maybe there's certain word choices, but the process is still the same. I went ahead and memorized a short speech from Arthur Miller's Death of a Salesman using this three-step method. I'll go ahead and jump to the final result so you can see what that looks like. First, here I am speaking my own paraphrase. Dad, I don't matter. I'm a nobody, Dad. What about that do you not understand? I'm not angry about it anymore. It's just how things worked out. It's fine. Okay, and now here I am speaking the lines while thinking the paraphrase. Pop, I'm nothing. I'm nothing, Pop. Can't you understand that? There's no spite in it anymore. I'm just what I am. That's all. Use case number 3 is vocalizing subtext. You're giving a story for every line that you say. Let's make up an example. Let's say that we have a line that goes, I heard what you said about me at the meeting. I am new here at this company, but I do not put up with backtalk. I'm new at this company, but I do not put up with backtalk. I heard what you said about me at the meeting. I heard what you said about me at the meeting. So that's one choice, but we can make others. This has been a really difficult transition for me, and acts of kindness mean a lot. I heard what you said about me at the meeting. 180 degrees different, right? We can make other choices. I'm a little confused. I thought we were good, but I heard what you said about me at the meeting. The reason this works is because the dictionary meaning of the words that we say only comprise something like 15% of what we actually communicate. Everything else, the other 85%, is in so-called paralinguistic factors. That's our body language, our facial expressions, our gestures, our intonation patterns, our tone of voice, our speaking distance, our speaking tempo. All of these factors that humans are really good at picking up on that are not contained in the text. The playwright has given us words. Those words are sacred to us. We must get them 100% correct. But what those words mean is part of the actor's art. And that is why acting is so hard, why it's so difficult to say lines that sound like you're a real person speaking. Most of what the audience takes away is not in the lines that we labor so hard to try to memorize. The moral of the story, don't memorize. Work on your character, work on the scene, your goals, all that good stuff, and you will learn your lines as one of multiple side benefits, not the other way around. Okay? Let me know how this goes for you in the comments section below. Like, subscribe. I'll see you next time.